I've been lucky. Not everyone gets the opportunity to do that, so like nobody does actually. I don't know how I got there. I just did. Full name, Benjamin Ott Vesna. I don't go by that. I just go by Ben. I just recently turned 48. I'm a professional drummer. Um, I've played with a pretty serious band for 16 years. Some might know his name, Freddie James. I just want to have something documented. Me talking. I'm not talking very well right now because of whatever. I'm declining rapidly. It's nothing I really want to say, other than the last 2 years have made me be more open about how I feel people should kind of move through life, helping people. I think it's one of the most important things we do as human beings, and it will help every single individual live a better life by helping people.
Give me one example of maybe the simplest thing that you're thinking about.
The simplest thing would be honest and good advice to someone who you think needs it at that point in their life. That would be the simplest thing. Outside of that, I think it's important to not go out of your way to ruin your life to help other people, but if there's a possibility to just help someone, even if it's just like quickly, it's the best. That's really what it's all about, and outside of that one thing, I think the most important thing in every person's life is relationships, actually. It sounds stupid, but I'm not a money guy. I know we need money to live and all that stuff, but I make zero decisions based on money. In fact, if money comes into the part of the decision making, I tend to avoid that topic altogether. That being said, my real true love is creative solutions. And that ties into like mechanics and that type of stuff. Everybody sees me as a car guy, and I am to a degree, but I'm very specific. But the cars are just, for lack of a better word, a vehicle to what I see as really good relationships that I've been able to develop. But it's not even about the cars. It's not even about that. The creative solutions bring me to even a bigger spectrum of people, and for me, anyways, that's kind of how I live my life and think about things. And I feel like I've been so gifted. It's also because I'm a weird dude and I can't do things normally, so I just have to do things my way. which brings me to the creative solution stuff. I'm rambling, but you know that's really what it is for me.
First memory of you, well, one of the first ones was when I tagged along with Kevin to go to your place, and you had a half pipe in your backyard.
Yeah.
And I couldn't. I said, "Isn't this guy a kid? How did he manage this?" So I want to go back. I want to go back to when you were growing up.
Okay, so I'm from Kitchener, Ontario. Still kind of, my heart is still there. I was there until I was almost 9, like 8 years old. I moved here second half of the year, went to Greendale School. And I was always very nervous about getting friends. And I literally got out of the car at the new house, and there were like six boys just like, oh, who's the new kid? Instantaneous friends.
You were how old?
8.
Oh, here's the bill. Oh, I thought it was a calendar girl.
Grade 5, we did like a lip sync type of thing, and there was a band that was put together for a show to do a lip sync thing, and I just decided, oh, I want to do the drums, and this is very much my personality. I'm like a dog with a bone. If I make a decision, I don't let go forever. But in my mind, I'm like, when I get to the high school, I'm gonna play drums. What happened to me in high school, I don't think happens to anyone. So when I finally got there,
Which high school?
John Ernie.
Okay.
And you know, you have to pick your instrument that you want to try and play. And obviously drums and guitar, like everybody wants that, you know. So we were told, if you want drums, you're gonna have to play the second half on xylophone. And you know, if you want guitar, there's other things. So I wanted drums, clearly. So when I wrote down the 3 options, I started with xylophone, then drums, then guitar. And you know, the teacher figured that out. But also, you weren't allowed to take drums unless you had some or were taking lessons already, because nobody was teaching you drums. You just had to know how to play already. And for some reason, Brenda Walsh, love her, she gave me drums. And I never looked back. I never played a hit on the xylophone. And you know, it's because of her that I actually teach. I don't know if I ever told you that. So there were some kids who were like wrecking the auditorium, which was above the music room. So she instructed me to teach them on their break. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm 14. Like, you know, I can play drums, but teach what? So I ended up teaching them, and I ended up getting credits for it too. Like, it was legit. And then she just kept getting me to teach other people. I ended up doing a lunch hour program at what was then Cedar Park, which is Clear Point, I think now. And even from that, there were 2 or 3 drummers that I continued to teach. One of them like won some competitions as well. It's just craziness. I've been teaching since I was 14. It's bananas. Unwillingly was never the goal. And now I feel like, for many years, I've felt like it's my vocation in life. It's like possibly the biggest purpose outside of family and all that stuff was teaching drums. It's very strange.
You graduate high school. Did you go to CJ?
Yeah, twice.
What do you mean twice? What does that mean?
It means I didn't make it into music at Vanier. So I had to go with my second option, which I didn't care for, which was communications. I mean, I liked all the art stuff, But the second it got to writing and reading, I was like, I'm out. My dad got me into mechanics school. Miraculously, I should not have been able to get into the English side. I got in somehow. They just were like, yeah, we're gonna let you go in. I did that. Probably one of the most important decisions I ever made. It sounds weird with the trajectory of my life, but it was very, very important. I always was told you're going to be an engineer. And that was the moment where I was like, you know what? I like engineering. I don't think I can do the schooling. And I've always held off on saying I want to be a mechanic.
Yeah.
But that was the moment where I'm like, okay, let's do this. I did it. Super important. But again, me being me, I didn't follow the course outline at all. I brought in my own engines. The teachers were like, oh no, you don't need to do this test. Can you go and do this on my car? And I was like, okay, sure. So my whole life is like no rules. When I became a mechanic at the dealership after, I learned to hate mechanics, which is basically the most interesting thing for me. So it's a weird juxtaposition. All the old guys were like, what are you doing here? You're a young guy, like you play music, like why are you wasting your life at the dealer? And it scared the crap out of me. So I actually went back to school at night afterwards and then like had a day job like changing oil and stuff like that. I did all my sciences, which was very hard for me. Took me 2 years, and then I actually got accepted into mechanical engineering at Concordia, but I chickened out. So I went into the mech tech at Dawson. That's why I say I went to Cégep twice. I went to Vanier, mechanic school, then Dawson. And music got the better of me. That's the short story. I wasn't saying out loud I want to be a musician, but it was always in the back of my head like, is this possible? Can I do this? And I remember very clearly hearing someone say, they made $200 on a gig, and that was happening somewhat regular for them, and $200 back then, that's money. That's money. I might be able to live. So I started changing how I started thinking about the possibility of that being something for me.
The Tribal Groove, were you doing, what kind of shows were you doing? You were doing originals? Were you doing covers?
Both. It was both. The goal was to be an original band, but you couldn't get a gig unless you played a bunch of covers. So we did both, actually.
So with Tribal Groove, did you start doing like corporate and
No.
or any of that stuff?
No corporate. We weren't there yet. We were still kind of just trying to get gigs, right? Do you remember Station 10? No, Jailhouse downtown? Yeah. So, we were doing clubs like that, but actually more importantly, we got a gig doing the Mocador in Sutton.
So what years are we talking now?
Are
we still in the 90s?
Probably just out of high school.
Okay.
17 maybe, so
94, 95?
95 I think actually. Yeah, around there. 94 or 95, yeah. And we actually just got together the other day, the original members. Very healing meeting. Yeah, that was part of the making money, like, oh, this is doable. It's a lot of work, but it's doable. Yeah. We were doing pretty well. We were like playing Bourbon Street and that type of stuff at that point. The band had changed a little bit. And then Freddie James came back from Asia to raise his son, and he needed a band. So he came into Tribal Groove, but I mean, it's Freddie James, so it quickly became his band. I mean, he's the man. So,
So when he came into the band, How quick was that transition between, let's say, bourbon versus, top 500 type gigs?
I would say it was pretty quick. Bourbon was more like just to get the band feeling like a band, and he wanted it to get to be like a level band. We were not there yet. We eventually got there. After a couple years being with Fred, we eventually made our way back to, or he made his way back to Asia on contracts, and that was always my goal. Well, I lived there for that first time. I think it was 2 months, and but it was so important for me. I'm so happy I got the opportunity to do that. We did that a couple other times as well. 2016, when I got diagnosed, was the hardest thing for me ever. Up until that point in my life, that was the hardest thing for me to do, was quit the band.
Was it out of the blue?
Well, yeah, it was a acute lymphoblastic lymphoma, and that was. They didn't diagnose me yet, but they knew something was very bad with me. I think about 2 weeks after I got back from that gig from the Maldives. So it was like the highest high, and then lowest low.
What were you were showing signs of something?
Yeah, my lymph nodes were all swollen under my neck, and then right around here, like 2 banana-sized lymph nodes, and my white blood cell count was like off the charts. So I actually had to wait a couple weeks before I could get a biopsy where they remove a lymph node. But when they did, they were like, yeah, it's cancer.
How did you get back into drumming? How did you ease drumming back
Well,
into your life?
it all comes back to that dog with a bone. I was like, I'm getting back to me. Like, I don't care what happens. So they put me into remission. They found a 10 on 10 match for my bone marrow transplant. And I had full body radiation and like the most you could possibly have. It was very hard on my body, but my mind was still very focused on getting back to where I wanted to get to. So I did that. And that worked for about 5 years.
And so, but you were teaching all this time?
Yeah. And that's kind of been my my anchor, actually. Even the coming out of transplant the first time in 2016, that's the first thing that I could do. And thank goodness for my ex-bandmate, Achilles Pitzios. He had bought Music Circle. I'd been working there since 2001 up until the pandemic and when he had to close it. But in 2016, maybe even the end of 2016, he was like, do you think you can teach? I'm like, I don't know, maybe. And he gave me the opportunity, and so I started teaching. I'm like, oh, okay. It's like the best thing now. That's where my brain went when I got diagnosed with this last thing. Was like, I'm gonna teach until I can't teach.
So where are you at right now?
I'm about to die. For real. Truly. I'm going into palliative care tomorrow. Yesterday I had a good day where we thought possibly I could stay home a little bit longer, but it's the end of the road for me now. I'm happy I can actually talk right now still. Maybe I'll last a couple more weeks, but I don't know. I'm one of one. Nobody understands how I'm doing, what I'm doing. The doctors can't give me any advice other than what they know from previous patients that haven't even gotten close to where I'm at now, or had as many treatments and are still functional. They're just like, nobody's mobile like you. You're like active. So I'm just, getting as much nectar out of this life right now. And all the moments I've had in the last couple of weeks, I'm gonna get very emotional. It's so magical. Nobody gets to do what I get to do. I don't know why I'm gifted this. I get to see my friends have the most emotional, healing moments together, just like this. I'm so lucky. I know it sounds stupid. I'm on my deathbed. I've had such a fulfilled life. Partly because I don't listen to any person ever. I do my own thing. So there's no bucket list other than wanting to be a grandfather right now. Who can say that? Nobody can say that. I'm so lucky. It's been like day after day after day of the most important meetings and gatherings with people. I'm all right with going. I'm all right. It's I don't think people that get to their 90s have this full of a life. I just don't think so. That's where I'm at. Now it's just a question of trying to die in a not happy way, but just I don't know, in a way that everybody is good about it. I think it's gonna be hard for everyone, but I think my my time of fighting this is done. That's what it feels like. I don't think there's any miracles coming my way. No, that's all right. None of us make it out of this alive. None of us. So it just is what it is, you know?
We got a lot of memories.
Yeah.
Amy will be returning to school in 1997. Ben was a huge drummer at Rennie and is a ballroom dancer.
I'm so happy that you were able to come here and allow me to share this and document it. I don't know how you came into my life, but it's a wonderful, magical thing. Thank you.
My wife is into drummers. And she bought that kid a drum kit. And so, it's true. And so I wasn't going to make the decision to bring drums into the house. It would have had to have come from her. So she got a drum
That's
kit.
what happened with my mom, too.
Oh,
She's
really?
like, yeah, I'll get the drums in here. Don't worry about
It
that.
can't be the guy's decision. I'm not that alpha to make that decision in my house. So she bought a kit and she said, oh, maybe it'd be fun if you took some lessons. And you were the only guy. I don't think we'd ever conversed on Facebook, maybe once or twice.
Yeah.
When everyone first got on or something. But you were still the only guy I thought of. Because I'd see you, every now and then with your hair playing with Freddie at the corporate gigs. Couldn't believe it was. No, it can't be Ben. He's still playing drums. That can't be Ben. I'm sure he's moved on to something else.
Yeah, I'm a weirdo.
It was still Ben.
People will, see me like years and years later and they're like, hey, so what are you doing? I'm like, the same thing. Still playing drums.
That's why I said Ben's been Ben as long as I've known Ben.
Yeah.
He's still Ben. Exact same.
Yeah.
The cars and the Legos and the drums.
That's it, man. That's it.
It's us guys who are trying to figure something else out. We always go back to what we originally started with.
That's it. And I've been lucky. Not everyone gets the opportunity to do that, so like nobody does actually. I don't know how I got there. I just did.
One of one. All right.